Hello, and welcome to our channel. In this video, there is an English listening practice for the A2 level. If you do not want to practice at the A2 level, you can watch our other videos on the channel. Now, let's listen to Daniel's story.
Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me today. It's Daniel again. In my last videos, I shared my travel experiences in Madrid and Paris, two amazing European cities full of art, culture, and life. But today, I want to take you far away from Europe. This time, I'll tell you about a journey that completely changed the way I see the world. I'm talking about my trip to Japan, a country that feels like a different planet in the best possible way. I visited Japan last spring, and I still remember the first moment I arrived in Tokyo. Everything looked so organized, so calm, and so clean. Even the air felt different. The people at the airport were polite, bowing slightly when they greeted me. I smiled and nodded, trying to do the same, but probably looked a bit awkward. In England, we usually just say hi or hello. In Japan, every small gesture seems to have meaning and respect behind it. My hotel was near Shinjuku Station, one of the busiest train stations in the world. Imagine thousands of people walking in perfect order, no one bumping into each other, no one shouting. I was amazed. In London, if you go to the underground during rush hour, it's total chaos. But in Tokyo, it was like watching a dance. Everyone moved smoothly, quietly, and efficiently. It made me realize how much discipline and respect are part of Japanese daily life. On my second day, I visited Asakusa, an area famous for its temples. I walked through Nakamizi Street, full of small shops selling traditional snacks and souvenirs. I tried taiyaki, a fish-shaped cake filled with sweet red bean paste. To be honest, I wasn't sure I would like it. Beans in a dessert sounded strange to me, but surprisingly, it was delicious. That's one thing about traveling. You learn that what seems unusual at first can become something you truly enjoy. Then I visited Sensoji Temple, one of the oldest temples in Tokyo. The smell of incense filled the air, and people were praying quietly. I stood there watching for a while, trying to understand the peaceful feeling that surrounded the place. In England, religion is more private and less visible in everyday life. But in Japan, spirituality is part of the culture. It's in the architecture, the gardens, the festivals, even in the way people behave with each other. Respect is not just a rule, it's a way of life. Another thing that really caught my attention was how quiet Japanese people are in public. On trains, nobody talks loudly. Most people are on their phones, reading, or simply resting. At first, I thought it was strange. I'm used to people chatting, laughing, or listening to music in public, but after a few days, I started to enjoy it. The silence was relaxing. It made me more aware of my surroundings, the sound of the train, the rhythm of the city, even my own thoughts. Let's talk about food, because Japan is heaven for anyone who loves eating. Of course, I had sushi, but real sushi in Japan is very different from what we have in Europe. It's simpler, fresher, and full of subtle flavors. I also tried ramen, tempura, and okonomiyaki. Every meal was like a work of art. The portions were smaller than in England, but beautifully arranged. Japanese people really care about presentation. How the food looks is just as important as how it tastes. I found that very inspiring. One evening, I went to Shibuya, yes, the place with the famous crossing. Hundreds of people walk in every direction when the lights turn green, but somehow nobody collides. I stood there, just watching. The lights, the music from the shops, the giant screens, it felt like being inside a movie. Tokyo is a city that never sleeps, but it's not chaotic. Everything is alive, yet peaceful at the same time. That balance between energy and calm is something I've never experienced anywhere else. Now, let me tell you something funny. On my third day, I went into a small cafe. I smiled and said, "Hi," to the waiter. He smiled back, but instead of shaking my hand, he bowed deeply. I almost reached out to shake his hand, but quickly pulled back. I remembered that Japanese people don't usually touch when they greet. In England, we shake hands. In Spain or France, people might even hug or kiss on the cheek. In Japan, a simple bow says everything. It means respect, gratitude, and politeness all in one small movement. I think that's beautiful. One of the most interesting things I learned was about Japanese work culture. People in Japan work very hard and take their jobs seriously. I saw businessmen in suits everywhere, even late at night. But what surprised me was how they balanced that with politeness and humility. For example, in many offices, the youngest person pours tea for everyone as a sign of respect. And when someone makes a mistake, they apologize sincerely, even if it's something small. In England, we also say sorry a lot, but in Japan, an apology feels deeper. It comes from the heart. Another thing I loved was the mix of old and new. You can walk from a quiet temple straight into a street full of neon lights and robots. I remember going to Akihabara, the famous technology district. There were electronic stores, anime shops, and people dressed like cartoon characters. It was fun, but also strange, a mix of ancient culture and futuristic imagination. Japan somehow makes that combination work perfectly. Outside Tokyo, I visited Kyoto, the city of temples and gardens. It was like stepping into another world. The air was clean, the streets were narrow, and everything moved slowly. I visited the Fushimi Inari shrine, the one with hundreds of red gates. I walked through them for almost an hour, surrounded by nature and silence. It made me think about how different life can be when you slow down. In our Western culture, we often rush. But in Japan, they find beauty in stillness. I also learned about the Japanese concept of omotenashi. It means hospitality, but it's more than that. It's about anticipating someone's needs before they even ask. Everywhere I went, restaurants, hotels, even convenience stores, people treated me kindly and respectfully. They made me feel welcome without being too personal or intrusive. It's something I wish we could practice more in the West. And, of course, I couldn't leave Japan without talking about manners. There are so many. You shouldn't eat while walking, you should remove your shoes before entering a house, and you must never stick chopsticks upright in a bowl of rice. It's considered bad luck. At first, it was hard to remember all these rules, but I appreciated the idea behind them. They're not just rules, they show thoughtfulness and consideration for others. During my trip, I also noticed how clean everything was. There were almost no trash bins, but no litter anywhere. People carry their rubbish until they find a place to throw it away. It's a small thing, but it shows how responsible everyone feels about public space. In England, we often depend on the government to keep things clean. In Japan, people see it as a shared duty. By the end of my trip, I realized something very important. Japan taught me that respect doesn't have to be formal. It can be simple, quiet, and sincere. It's not about rules, but about attitude. Whether it's greeting someone, eating carefully, or walking silently through a crowd, every small action shows awareness of others. That's what makes Japan so unique. If you ever have the chance to visit Japan, I really recommend it. It's not just a place, it's an experience that changes how you see people, culture, and even yourself. I left Japan with a heart full of gratitude, a camera full of memories, and a new way of looking at the world. Thank you for listening to my story today.
Bravo! You did a great job today. In this A2 listening practice, you learned new English words and expressions about travel, people, and culture. You also practiced listening to natural English rhythm and tone, just like in real conversations. Remember, every time you listen, your English gets stronger. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep exploring new places with Daniel. Thank you for joining us. See you in the next video.